This is where it all began. Right here, right now. And yet, 20 years ago. Right here, right now. So despite the fact that a winter storm's blowing in, I really wanted to make this video because this is where it all began. Right here, right now. And yet, 20 years ago. I know that most people probably won't ever watch this video. I mean, my channel's just starting, but I'm putting it up because I think maybe one day people will. Maybe one day my children will. They'll go back, watch the first video I put up, and that's what they'll see, my story. This is our turn off. So what's so special about this? A little trail in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a city. Well, as far as I can remember, this was my first hike ever. I remember just like it was like yesterday. We come down a path that runs just along the edge of this trail many times. I always looked down this path and I always asked my dad if we could go down. He always said, someday, son. And one day, that day came. And he said, today, Jesse, we're going for a hike. I asked him what that meant. He explained it was like a long walk. I was so excited. This little drainage gully, because that's really all it is, will end up taking us to a place called the Sandstone Cliffs. At least, that's what Tyler and I called it, the countless times we've been back. Truth be told, I don't remember if we made it here the first time with my dad, but I remember that moment. I remember that's when I was introduced to hiking. My life would never be the same. Truth be told, I don't think my parents knew what they were getting themselves into when they taught me how to hike and the love of nature. Now fast forward 20 years, and I love hiking. But here's the thing. I always wanted to go in the backcountry. I always wanted to backpack, but I never had. For somebody who has an insatiable desire for adventure, hiking can only take you so far. And soon, the call of the backcountry I would hear. Well, it may not look like much under the snow, but these are the Sandstone Cliffs. My buddy Tyler and I, we'd come here countless times through our teens, and so it was fitting when I was looking for an adventure buddy to start my adventure into the backcountry to tag Tyler and drag him along. And sure enough, he came with me. I remember it was in a valley not too different from this when I was going on one of my solo camping trips. See, my parents weren't campers, so everything I started with, they had a tent, but basically everything I had to teach myself and buy, and I would go on some solo camping trips. and do a little hiking, and it was in a canyon, dry riverbed. I stopped and I said, enough is enough. I'm done with saying someday, sometime. I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be that guy who went hiking and backpacking and was in the mountains whenever he got a chance. And so I decided that that's what I would do. I'd make that happen now. Ironically, it would still be a year and a half before I finally started the process of buying gear necessary for backpacking, but it came. I'm not gonna lie, a big thing that held me back from backpacking was the price. I'd look at all these backpackers on YouTube, I'd see their gear, I'd find out, what? That's the price of my rent for a month. How can I get into that? So part of my story is a little bit about how to start at the beginning and work your way up. And I'll post some videos about that, I'm sure. But needless to say, I started buying my gear, getting some together. Me and Tyler created a name for what we were doing. We called it Backcountry Forward. I remember that conversation, we were talking and it was like, what can we call it? Hinterland ahead. And he was like, what does that mean? Well, like the hinterland is the behind country and ahead is like where you're going. And he said, oh, kind of like backcountry forward. And we both paused, looked at each other and said, that was it. It started out that we were supposed to be doing a blog, but the issue is I'm horrible at writing blogs. I'm better at talking to a camera. So that's what I'm doing. I wanted to start a journey of my own. A journey of my own adventures, where I'm going and who I am. I don't know exactly what the journey holds, but I know one thing. No matter what happens, I'm outbound for adventure. Not everything I'm gonna do here is gonna be success. In fact, just over there is the first place I ever went winter camping. And let me tell you, it was a complete and utter gong show. But it's all about the lessons learned and it's all about the journey taken. And that's what I want to share with you. So whether it's a day hike in the mountains or a backcountry trip or in my living room where I'm discussing my latest gear or recent tips or tricks that I've learned, I hope that you guys will come along for the journey. I hope that you'll enjoy my mistakes, the lessons learned, and most of all, I hope that you guys would go out and have some outbound adventures of your own. I don't know where this journey ends, but I know where it begins. It begins here, it begins now, and it begins today. And that's the same for you. So if you've been thinking about it for a long time, maybe you've been thinking about starting a YouTube channel, maybe you've been thinking about getting into hiking or backpacking or knitting, doesn't matter what it is, don't wait till tomorrow. Take a step, make a goal, make a plan, and head out there today. This is my home. My name's Jesse Manti, and this is my outbound adventure. I'm definitely not hiking out that way, it's just bush.